One of the most freeing things that my pastor has ever said to me, if you take a risk on someone, you put them in a seat that wasn't the best use of their gifting and it wasn't a 10 out of 10, that's okay. He was giving us permission to fail so long as we were taking risks.
That's
and
awesome.
Trying to create new opportunities for people.
But did you ever try something and it didn't work? And it didn't work like horribly did not work?
Yes. Yes, actually, I've received one anonymous letter delivered to our church office complaining about.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Amazing Kidsmen podcast. And today is really awesome. And today is, dare I say, amazing because we've got a really special guest. He is a kids pastor here in the DFW area. He's been leading that ministry for a while. And personally, when I get to go to their building, it is one of my favorite kids ministry build outs that I've seen in the past 10 years. It's beautiful and it's awesome. But more than their building, their ministry and the way that they reach kids is beautiful. And so please give an amazing Kidsmen podcast. Welcome to Evan.
Hey, Tyler. Thank you. That's so kind. So kind.
Oh, man. Thanks for coming on.
I'm so excited. I appreciate the invitation, and I love hosting your family. I tell you, every time I'm with you and your family, like I just walk away better every single time. I mean that.
Wow, thank you. That's high praise, and like it must be other members of my family, but that's really nice of you to say. So that's awesome. You are a kids pastor, the kids pastor at Keystone Church in Keller, Southlake, Texas.
That's right.
How long have you been there?
Have been there now for 12 years. Going on, this year will be number 12.
I say this because I also have to say about myself, no, he's not 18 years old. Like,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I received that. I receive it.
That's what I say too, because people are like, aren't you like 12? So
I
like,
think we're the same age.
Were you 10? Yeah.
I
And
think
like,
so.
no, yeah, exactly.
That's very, very kind. I receive it as a compliment, Tyler.
But so 12 years, and you've been like, did you start as the kids pastor or did you grow into that?
No. So I moved to DFW from out of state when I was headed to seminary and met my wife there, and now have since built our family and found Keystone shortly after moving here, and started as sort of a like an unpaid intern of sorts. At that point, Keystone was still felt kind of like a church plant. We were less than 10 years old in a rented facility, and so it was like I came from a church that was 200 years old, so it was really exciting to be a part of something new and fresh, and been there ever since. And now today I have the privilege of leading our kids ministry, and I love it. It's so great, so fun.
Dude, that's awesome. And so one of the things that I've really valued or loved as I've gotten to just like observe from afar is that Keystone is very intentional about investing in the next generation. Like, and it doesn't just put it on the walls or like say it from a platform like we believe in it. It's like, oh no, like you look at the building, it's beautiful, but also the leaders that you have in your ministry are like your next gen, like young student people. Like you guys pull them in and give them purpose and also utilize them to grow their gifts. Like, has it always been that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the short answer to that is yes. We've always been a church that has had a specific and special heart, and I'd even say a favor from the Lord to reach students and kids and their families. It comes from our pastor. I mean, we take a group of students to camp every summer, and our pastors are there. Our senior pastor is there preaching at every service at the entire week. And that's awesome. It's a vision that's from the top down with our pastor, Brandon and Susan, all the way through every level of our kids and student ministry. And it's one of those things that I love because I've got kids of my own who are growing up in this church. And so when my 6-year-old today, 10 years from now, is in our student ministry, I want her in a place that's healthy, and I want her in a place that she's going to receive leadership and people who are pouring into her at that stage of her life. And so as a parent, as a participant in the church, like I love that. And as a ministry leader in the church, it creates so much opportunity and so much freedom to really dream and do things with excellence and enthusiasm across the board for kids and student ministry. It gives us a lot of, it gives us the green light to say, yes, we have to do this because the stakes are too high to not be successful.
I think sometimes what I can see, it's not everyone, but it falls onto like a pendulum to where it's either like, let's use the students, but like we just throw them in and we don't train them. and it's kind of like a chaos.
Yeah.
Or it's like a, no, we don't use them at all. Like they can't do this. But you've landed in the middle to where it's like, no, they have a purpose and a calling, and we're going to utilize those gifts to reach the next generation. But you also train them. And so how do you guys do that? Because I don't get the sense when I've been there, or we've done different things like you guys do, the Kids Celebrate, where it's a worship night and stuff. I don't feel like what would usually be attributed as like a chaotic environment, because it's all these like young teenage youth people running it. I don't attribute that to you guys, because there's like such intentionality and purpose, and they handle themselves well. Like, how do you grow those leaders? Because that's a big thing for kids pastors.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's true for our Sunday morning services. That's true in all sorts of our events that we do. That we have such a major proportion of the people who serve with us in any given event. They're people in our student ministry. They're teenagers, middle school and high school students, and I think what we've found is that we're not having to go try to convince them to come serve with us.
Yeah.
Because we've created something that this is a legitimate part of what God has called you to do. As a teenager in this church, God has called you to serve the church. And that's language they're hearing from our student pastors. It's language that they're hearing from our senior pastor on Sunday morning. And it would be, frankly, irresponsible for us and kids to not align with that vision and not to create those opportunities for students to come in and have significant opportunities to serve and add value. And it would, frankly, it does make it a little messier to think about how do we contextualize this content, this equipping or this training material. How do we contextualize this?
Working with teenagers is messy. That's wild to think about.
If we were all adults here, it would be awesome.
Our brains are all developed and we can rationally make decisions. Yeah.
But we're aligning with a value that's a little different, a little bigger, because we value creating opportunities for teenagers to serve with us and kids, to serve their church, and kids is one of those opportunities that they can serve. And so as a kids team, now it becomes on us to say, okay, we've got teenagers here. What do we need to do to make sure they know what's expected of them? We're holding them to standards. We're not just throwing them in because they show up on a Sunday morning.
Right.
Sometimes they do show up on a Sunday morning, and so we have to know how to handle that kind of situation.
Yes.
But we're not just letting them coast without any guidance or expectation or responsibility. And so depending on the event, like there are times where, frankly, our onboarding process for a teenager is in some ways more stringent than it would be for an adult.
Yeah.
Because we have to equip them differently. But it's still worth it. And when you have an event like what you're talking about, Kids Celebrate, it's one of our worship events that we go throughout the year. It's sort of a discipleship journey about worship. And we have kids who, they're students now, grew up in our kids ministry, and the opportunity for them to come now and serve and be a part of something that they got to participate in as kids, there's a self-leadership that's innately in so many of those students because they have a vested interest in the success of what we're doing because they got to be part of it before.
Church Conference is happening April 28th through 30th in Dallas, Texas at Preston Trail Community Church. If you've ever been to Orange Conference, you know that the collaboration and the energy in the room is electric. We renamed Orange Conference to Church Conference because we wanted to expand the scope beyond just kids and student ministry. So this year, we're doing some incredible sessions and workshops for kids ministry leaders, student ministry leaders, and executive leaders. This is a whole ministry strategy designed to equip your church with the best tools, skills, resources, and relationships. We're also going to be dropping 2 major announcements that will literally change kids and student ministry forever. And that's not a joke or an embellishment. The next era of ministry starts here, and you definitely want to be in the room when that happens. There are a bunch of ticket options available. Individuals, group tickets, digital, and also an option to host remotely as a host site. Applications are open to serve on volunteer teams, and that comes with its own set of perks. You can get tickets now or apply to serve at achurchconference.com. Now, back to the podcast.
That's so cool. I think what's really awesome is like 2 things. Is one, like you said, you're not begging these kids to come because it's like they find their own, like obviously there's small groups within student ministry and they have their, but it's like the rooms that they work in together also become their small group.
Right.
It's like, hey, these are the people I do life with. And two, there's such a value placed on them that you never, which is shocking, but you never walk into a room and see, I've never seen a teenager like on their phone or scrolling. Like, you've set good boundaries for them and expectations and called them up and raised a bar that it's so interesting. So it's always been something I've admired. And like, I think sometimes when, kids pastors are like, hey, how do I get more volunteers? And it's like, well, have you looked at doing like utilizing the youth?
Yeah.
It's like one of two things. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so much work. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, they're terrible volunteers. It's like, well, have you trained them? Like,
Right.
Did you do, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or it's like no, but like, I don't think they can. And it's like, no, you should. Have you tried training them?
Right.
So like, both kind of end in this like, just intentionality goes a long way. So I'm always impressed. Like, but it speaks to going back to your church values, the next generation a lot. Like, from the youngest age all the way to like teenagers. There's not even like on main stage worship, you have young people leading worship. Like your teenagers, a part of the worship team, and it's a beautiful multi-generational church. So that's what I've always appreciated. And you stepped in, you've been there for 12 years. And like, I joke, but like, when you do have a baby face, it's already someone's like, okay, who's the teenager that's like my boss now?
Right.
But you carry yourself and you have a wisdom that's a little bit beyond your years, but it can sometimes be awkward to step into a space. And a lot of the data we're seeing right now is that there's a turnover happening in ministry. And young people are kind of having to step in. And I think some young kids pastors find themselves in places sometimes, whether they inherit a ministry or they're building something and it's people older than them stepping up to come volunteer. And they feel ill-equipped or they feel like awkward leading someone older than them. Like, how have you navigated that over as you've stepped into more and more leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think in so many of us, maybe you resonate with this. I can think back at times where I felt very much like some insecurity almost of like, I'm the guy, like I'm in charge of this now. And I think that's a strategy that our enemy can really start to weave into our minds to distract us from the calling that God has given us. And so, young, old, I don't think that is, I think that can apply to anyone in any leadership position, no matter your age or whatever your context. But what I remember years ago, I had a leader at the time, and one of the things that she said to me was, Evan, I need more of an entrepreneurial spirit from you.
Wow.
And I didn't really know what that meant. Like I'm not a business guy. I didn't really know what that term meant in the context of ministry. But what I came to learn, she was asking me to dream and try things and be a little, try things that might feel a little risky at times, because that's what a good entrepreneur does. They build something and maybe it succeeds, maybe it doesn't.
Fail, but fail fast.
If it doesn't,
keep going. Yeah.
They learn something and try something new. That's what a good entrepreneur does. And that spirit, in the context of what we do in kids ministry, I think it gave me a lot of freedom to say, okay, here's the scope of what I've been asked to lead. Here's the boundaries. It's this team or this age group or whatever. And I was challenged to say, okay, what can we do here to make it different? What can we try? Let's not just copy paste what we did last year or last week. Let's try things. And I'm not talking about major overhauls of, we're like, there's some non-negotiables that we always do.
Right.
But, we've always done it this way. It's always worked, but maybe let's try it this way. And that's the spirit, I think, that really gave me some confidence in those early years to say, okay, what could we try? Like, if I'm being asked to try new things, and maybe it's not always going to be a slam dunk, but I now know that if it's not a slam dunk, that's not coming on me directly, because I was doing what I'm asked to do. And so that helped me have some confidence to dream and to ask the Lord, okay, what could we create? What could we tweak? What could we change? If we had this, what could we do differently? Now, how do I go get that thing? It's not about creating Disney World every week. It's just creating experiences that are exciting and fun. And that's the thing in those early years for me, that I was a little too safe. Like, I was a little too just sat on my heels and waited for someone to come to me and say, hey, let's try this next. and being led, receiving leadership that like God called me to this and I have gifting. And as the leader now, I have some freedom to try new things. And I think that's the permission that I was missing in the earliest days. And once someone challenged me and said, "Hey, try this now," it's something that really unlocked a new level of ambition in some ways that I hadn't thought of before.
Did you? I hope you did. But did you ever try something and it like didn't work? And it didn't work like horribly did not work?
Yes, yes, actually, and sometimes that's just because it just didn't work. Sometimes it's because people didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like I've received, to my knowledge, one anonymous letter delivered to our church office complaining about a change that I made one time.
Actually, that's great.
I
like
mean,
over a 12-year span.
Sure.
Oh man, that's a great record. Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, not everything is a slam dunk, but kind of in that same spirit, one of the things that my pastor said to a group of us at the time a few years ago, we were in a high season of growth, had just moved into a new campus, had all sorts of new families, and we needed new leaders, new people to serve in our ministry. And one of the most freeing things that my pastor has ever said to me, he said, if you take a risk on someone and it turns out that's not, you put them in a seat that wasn't the best use of their gifting and it wasn't a 10 out of 10, that's okay. He was giving us permission to fail so long as we were taking risks.
That's
and
awesome.
Trying to create new opportunities for people and new opportunities for people in our church to use the gifts that God has given them. And I think that's the risk that I was averse to when I first started this. And now, there's some confidence that comes with doing this for a little while. But at the end of the day, I think when it comes to leading people who are older than you or leading people who are in a different season of life or who have a different skill set, I think there's young or old, I think people want to feel valued and people want to feel heard and people want to feel cared for. And what I effort to do when I'm meeting someone, no matter what season of life they're in, what their career is, like if I can help them feel like I value you as a human, not just you as what you could do for me. I think that's the young or old, one of the things that has helped me the most at building rapport and credibility with people.
Recently, I was in a conversation with someone, and what we were talking about was the desire to see people win and succeed, but like how do you synthesize that into a way that they can like understand like I want more for you than I want from you. But I want you to understand like it's what I want for you, there may be a path that looks like this. Yeah. And like I think for our generation in particular, like the younger I guess I'm gonna say it's a younger millennial. I don't know. Maybe
I
it's
feel
not.
like I'm straight in the middle of the millennial.
Just
age
right
group.
up the middle.
Right in the middle. Yeah.
And but what's for us, I think what I see a lot as a trend for people our age is if they didn't have a healthy leader or a great leader like you had, who was like, hey, I want you to fail. Like there's this desire to perform in a way to where it's almost paralyzing because I don't want to try something and fail. So I end up doing nothing. Yeah. And then it's just like this spiral. One of the best people that I've ever met that is so good at letting people learn is Chris Easlett. He's an incredible leader and he'll be like sometimes I brought stuff to him and be like, hey, we need to like make a shift or even before all of the orange stuff and he's like, no, let them learn it. Yeah. And I'm like, but it's like, it would be faster. He's like, no, it's great. That's an invaluable lesson for them to learn. And it's like, I've had to learn how to have patience to be like, okay, cool. Like you get to learn that now. I had to learn it at some point. And so that's really hard to do. It's like that switch you make to where I was afforded it. So now I have to be able to gift that to other people. But you guys have done so well at like, and God is really blessed and there's growth happening and there's like it's awesome to see, but what's been really fun, and actually we started connecting more so because I have a sister that works on staff with you guys, but then like after all this orange stuff I found out like, oh, you guys use orange and you've used orange a long time. And so as we were like navigating and figuring out we just wanted to talk to a bunch of different people, so I was like, can we go to lunch? And we went to lunch. And like you've been with Orange for, 12 years, like 10 years.
I think we first started using it even before. I think we first started using First Look with our preschool age kids.
Yeah.
And at some point we picked it up in our elementary age too. So it's been close to 10 years maybe.
That's awesome. And you guys have been kind of in a good way champions of it. And like, I love watching churches who take it and they make it work for their space and their environment.
Yeah.
But I always say this, and it's bad to say as the guy that is the content guy, like curriculum is not the most important thing you do. And I tell a story, I've told it a couple times, and it's because of you guys. Like, I love that you do our content. I love that you do all that. But when my daughter has because the other church that we've attended, it doesn't do a summer camp, and like you guys do a summer camp, and it's awesome. So we send her to it, and so she got a postcard like a couple weeks later from you and some of the other team, and that meant more to her than anything that had happened that summer, because she was like my counselor and my leaders, they sent me, and the postcard is still hanging up on her wall.
Yeah.
And like that's the things that it's like trying to help pastors understand sometimes of like, hey, we're just trying to save you time so you can do those things, instead of worrying about programming like this awesome like we want it to be fun.
Yeah.
We want it to be engaging.
Yeah.
We want them to want to come back. But like what makes them want to come back and what I've seen is the connection of feeling like, oh, they see me and they want me and they know me,
Yeah.
And so you guys how have you developed that so well? Because it's like you hold everything in its rightful place, and it's not like content is king or, parents are like everything is held well so that it's like, hey, it's a balanced like approach to everything.
Yeah. It's a great question. And first of all, I'll say I'm so happy that your daughter had a great experience with us at camp. Like as a pastor here, I'm just so thankful for that. I'm, so happy that she
hear from
loved
me.
it.
You don't get to hear it a lot.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That means a lot.
Kids
And
never come back and are like, hey, my life was radically changed and transformed by the hard work you put into that. But it was, and thank you.
Thank you. I don't take that lightly. And I think for us, the longer I do this, the more I realize that there are things that God created the church to do that only the church can do.
Yep.
There are lots of different organizations that can put on a great week-long summer thing. You can send your kid to 1,000 different things.
Yep.
And
I do.
And we do.
Yeah.
But God created the church to do things that no other organization in the world is able to do. And I think the longer I do this, the more I realize the people in our church need the church to be healthy. They need their church to be doing what God has called the church to do. And one of those things is to care for children and to care for parents.
Yeah.
And as a pastor in a local church, I have an opportunity to influence, and we as a church have a collective opportunity to influence kids and parents in ways that meet them right where they are and that meet their felt needs, that show up for them when they have things going on in their lives, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And by partnering with someone that we trust, an organization we trust, to help us with the content, it allows us to say, okay, we don't have to spend our pastoral time from Monday to Friday writing lessons from scratch. We can take lessons that are great, adapt them for our space, and then use the leftover time and capacity to do things that only the people in our church have the opportunity to do. And to me, that's a great way to use the resources that God has given our church in the way that's, I think, most effective. God hasn't asked me to build Keystone Kids. God has asked me to use the resources and the vision of Keystone Kids in such a way that builds Keystone Church. And I'm not trying to build the best kids minute. I'm trying to take this part of Keystone Church and make our church healthy and more successful. And whatever we can do to make this ministry successful and to use some tools that are designed for what we need, whatever we can do in that side, that helps us build our ministry in such a way that supports the overall calling and responsibility that God has placed on our church, that's a win for me. And it allows our kids pastors to influence kids right where they are, and they can do things that are meaningful. They can use content that's great, use tools that are designed to help them to care for people and to create excellent programs and to communicate God's word well. We're using all kinds of tools and using the resources that Amazing Life is producing. That's one of those great tools in a list of a handful that we use that help us every week.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's such a great outlook and perspective. That's when we started, like the very, very first like iteration of A Play was, and like Service Builder and all that was literally like, hey, can we do the content so you can go back to connecting with kids, or like we'll do the programming so that you can pastor. And it was just like tools are awesome, and I actually see like curriculum is another tool. Like it's not the thing. It's not the ends of the means. It's the means to the end.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I think it's been really awesome. Like, and you are very open to, and there's a curiosity. I was talking to someone earlier today actually about, and she's older than us. Like, you know, she has kids that have graduated college now. She's still a kids pastor, and their church has been very successful. But I was like just encouraging her and like telling her, thank you for being so curious, because she is always looking for like, look, we've done this and this is awesome, but like, what's God doing now?
Yeah.
And what's going to help us reach the people that God has asked us to steward now? Yeah. And like, you have that same spirit where it was like, what are y'all doing? Cool. I mean, if that's going to help us, great. We'd love to try it. Like, I think you might have been the first church, if you were in the first 10 churches, after the Amazing Life in Orange like piece that merged and happened, that was like, yeah, like, can we try that stuff? Can we try play? Yeah.
Wow.
Like, a lot were coming on, but y'all were just one of the quickest to be like, yeah, that sounds great to us.
Yeah.
And now we have like, there's everyone's slowly migrating onto it as they're realizing it helps, but there's over 3,000 churches now that are like,
Wow.
I literally 4 or 5 different stories just today where people have been like, I have some time back to kind of like, I'm not digging through files to like find stuff. It's great. Thank you so much. And I'm like, that's awesome. Literally that's all we want to do is give you tools to help you do your job better. And pastor and shepherd. So, it's been fun to watch people utilize it.
I didn't realize that. I mean, I didn't realize that we were so early in the adoption cycle.
Because for you were just like, that makes sense. Like, let's try it. And
let's pick. And I mean, that kind of goes back to what I said a second ago. Like I've been from the get-go asked and led to say, hey, what are some new ways maybe this other way has been really effective for a long period of time. But what if we tried something new? What if maybe the way we've been doing it is no longer as effective as it once was? I mean, like, I remember, Tyler, I would spend so much time because we care about the lessons, the small group guides that we give to our volunteers every week. And it's a value to us to say, like, okay, it should be formatted well. So that way when they're looking at it, they don't have to try to find all but we also wanted to make it our own. And so I love the look of this PDF, but I can't edit it. Here's this Word document that like it doesn't look pretty.
But it doesn't look pretty.
Let's try hours of time to try to take this Word document and reformat it and rewrite some things and then make it look nice. And we don't have to do that anymore. Like you don't have to convince me to try something new. If I don't have to do that task week after week, you don't have to convince me.
We're
anymore.
the same. That's literally why literally everything you're saying is like, I was you.
Right.
And I was like, so what? When we started building it, I was like, you know what would be really helpful? If I could just do it here and then export it out instead of having to. That's so funny.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are so many things that I can look back and say, these are really great sort of legacy events that filled a need for a specific reason for a long period of time. And those things are great.
Yep.
And let's also not just live in the way that we have always been doing it. That's true in everything that we do. Like I'm always asking the question, are we doing this for a reason or are we just doing this because that's how we've always done it?
Yep.
And often the answer is, well, that thing is hanging on the wall right there because someone hung it on the wall 3 years ago and it's been there ever
since.
since.
No one thought about it.
No one has ever thought maybe we don't need that on the wall anymore.
Yep.
And that same logic applies in so many different areas of ministry. And in the cycle of Sunday to Sunday or season to season or year after year.
Which is real, very real.
Right. Yeah. There's all sorts of things that I think by default just sit in that's just copy paste week after week. And when you stop to zoom out a little bit and ask the honest question of, is this the most effective way to do this? Or is this as effective today as it once was? Often, if you honestly ask yourself that question, I think you can find the answer is, well, no, we could try something different. Mm-hmm. And so that's always been my mindset about all sorts of things. And so when all of these Service Builder and A-Play, all these tools that are coming out, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
I love that it all exists in the same ecosystem. Like Tyler, I've got like 6 different Apple products that I use literally every single day. So like I'm an ecosystem guy. Like
Same.
I just like when things work together. And I
yeah.
like using tools the way they were designed to be used.
Yeah.
I don't want to always have to be kind of working around something.
And jimmy it to like,
Like there's okay, maybe we have to change one thing about how we've been doing it to use this tool instead, but in the long run, that's a great thing to try.
And you love the ecosystem. You're really gonna love the things that are coming because it continues to grow and tie in. Like you're gonna love it.
For my seat, like we're jumping in to give it a shot, and if we have to adjust some things along the way, like okay, because we're not. There are so few things, programming wise. There are so few things that I would say are sacred cows.
Yeah.
Like there's some non-negotiables in theology.
Yep.
We're always going to teach the Bible. We're always going to worship.
Yep.
There's some non-negotiables on theology, but there's very few non-negotiables in programming.
Agreed.
Like, just because we've always done this event this way, it's a great event, but what if we tweaked it for next year? Like that's just how we tend to operate as a church. That's how I've been led from day one, and I do think that that's the way to find the most creative ways to solve problems and to make things better. And when we partner with organizations that we trust and those organizations are building great tools, it is even better.
I cannot thank you enough for coming on to talk. Like I think it's really encouraging. What I've heard from a lot of different kids pastors is that like they've talked about what they listen to. Like you know that when you do something and you think, oh yeah, people really enjoy this, and then you find out later, like, wait, this was the value for it. Is a lot of different kids pastors have been like, hey, I listened to it, and here's what I loved is like, I just don't feel crazy, or I don't feel alone, or I don't feel like, okay, I'm not the only one who like experiences that, and so it's really nice when people like you come on. You're like, oh yeah, no, that's a thing, but like, look what God's doing,
Yeah.
And so it's just I'm really encouraged, and thanks for spending time just to talk with us, because what you guys are doing at Keystone, and even just the things that how he's moving and how you guys are operating. Like if you guys haven't, you should check out Keystone Church. It's a beautiful church. It's again one of my favorite kids buildings I've seen in a long time. And the way that their church is just congruent from 0 all the way to, I wouldn't even say 18, I'd say 80. Like it's a very intentional like ministry plan is beautiful. So you guys are crushing.
I mean, thank you. It's in alignment with every single part of our church. We're all rowing in the same direction. We're all in alignment. There's a clear place of where we're all headed, and that's what gives me the credibility to be able to champion what's happening in our student ministry.
Yep.
To champion what's happening in our women's ministry. To champion what's happening on the stage in our adult service. Like there's so much unity. And I don't take it for granted because I know that's not always the case. But there's so much unity and so much fruit that comes from a church being the church as God made it to be. And we're not perfect, but there's a lot of really great things that happen that I've found when everyone is on the same team and we're all rowing in the same direction. So great to be with you, Tyler.
It was so good. Thanks for being here, dude. And that's everything we got for today. Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you guys next week.